Hey friends, welcome back to more Microsoft Flight Simulator and On-Air Company Manager. Now we were going to be heading back home from our last flight. We had a flight that ended up over in western Montana, I believe. We are over by Butte, Montana. But instead of going west, my friends, I found a job for us. We have been called to deliver aid down to the weather-stricken coastline of the United States down here in the Gulf of Mexico. Louisiana is battening down for yet another hurricane that's going to hit here in just a couple of days. So I found a job that requires us to bring much needed supplies all the way from Montana down to Arkansas, where they will be shipped by truck into whatever areas need those relief items. Let's see, what are we carrying today? Our relief items are printed magazines. We're bringing 4,700 pounds of magazines. Obviously, when people are out of their homes, if their homes have been destroyed, they're going to be in shelters. They're going to need something to read. They're going to be bored out of their minds, right? So one of the, of course, top priorities for us is going to be bringing them a bunch of old PC Gamer magazines. We'll bring them some People magazines. You know those Nickelodeon coloring books you had in your doctor's office? We'll be bringing tons of those as well. Now, we're not doing this just for humanitarian-only reasons, although, of course, that's a big part of my heart. We are bringing in this because it's worth $200,000. This is a long flight. This is 4,700 pounds at a distance of 1,100 nautical miles. So we're going to be using some of our online tools in order to figure some of our our flight plan out. Now, I've already gone to airnav.com. Let me go ahead and just show you real quick this nifty little fuel planner. So let me go back over to our aircraft itself, and we're going to start planning for this flight. So this is going to be one flight broken out into a couple of different legs, but hopefully we'll get a little bit more airtime, and we'll just kind of do a couple legs here and there, but I'll be able to show you some nice daylight flights down to the south. So if we load up 4,700 pounds worth of magazines, amazing, we can fit about just under 50% fuel. We're sitting at 477 right here. 16,477 is our gross weight. So we're pretty much right at capacity. I wonder if I can just scooch up a notch or two in the tank. So 1% in the left tank and 1% in the right tank, maybe? No, that puts us 1 pound over. Let's drop the aux tanks by just a smidge. Perfect. There we go. Okay, so we're at 46% of fuel. This gives us a range of 546 nautical miles. Now, this is exactly, I believe this is going to be to the nose. A lot depends on how well we manage our fuel during flight. And, of course, the FAA requires you to have 30 minutes of flight time. Now, how do we calculate that? Is that pretty much the fact that we're going about 330 knots and then divide that in half? And that's how many nautical miles of fuel we would need? Because basically that's how far we're going in an hour. If we're going 330 knots, that means we're going 330 nautical miles per hour. Divide that in half. Gosh, really? Do we need that much fuel? Is that how much fuel is required for 30 minutes of flight? I'm sure I've got that calculation wrong. We'll trust the fact that we'll just wing it. That's what we always do, right? Exactly. To a point. So as you can see, our load is spread out in On-Air Company Manager. At this point, I've heard multiple things now, so I don't even know anymore of how the balance can be distributed. We don't really have too much of a balance issue in the Beechcraft. So let's use this planning tool. And let me make this a little bit smaller so I can see my destination. So we're going from KBTM, Bert Mooney, down to KBVX, which is, I don't even know, I think it's in Arkansas somewhere. We'll be using jet. We're looking for airports with jet fuel that are public. And we're going to find the shortest routes. It's going to ask us what our current range is. I'm going to say 520 nautical miles, and we'll see if we can't get a really fuel efficient burn once we get up to maximum altitude and maybe stretch our fuel usage a little bit more. So it's going to find us a bunch of different routes here. So it looks like primarily they want us to go from BTM to KAIA. Now what I do from these, I'm going to move this off screen real quick and go back into Flight Simulator. So we're heading from KBTM over to KBVX. From here, we can actually do a search. Oh, if I remember how to do this, I think it's hidden right there. There we go. We're going to be doing a search for KAIA just to see if that airport exists. It does. We're going to add that as a waypoint, which should then, nope, it's actually going to smush it right where we don't really want it to be. Can I move this around at all? Let's remove this, remove this, remove this. Yes, okay, that worked out. So KBTM to KAIA. From there, it wants us to go to KUKL, which is Coffee County, Burlington. We'll add that as a waypoint. There we go. That's working so far. Now, the other thing I'm going to have to double check is that all of these fields have fuel in On-Air Company Manager. So this is starting to get a rather involved prep time. But this is kind of fun, right? We got a little bit of pre-gaming to do. Oh, that was it pretty much. Okay, so only 2 stops along the way. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if I buy that or not. but we'll see. This looks like a pretty short leg. So maybe we'll be able to stretch this out. Real quick, let me go back to On-Air Company Manager. I'm going to go ahead and start prepping the flight right now. So we're going to go ahead and just say confirm and fly now. That's going to start the apron work. And then once that happens, I'm going to go back to our search for FBOs. By the way, On-Air had a bunch of problems the last couple of days. Just to let you guys know, I've been in the Discord kind of keeping an eye on the announcements if you weren't really familiar with what's going on. They have had a massive disk failure, basically. And so they fixed that issue. They've given everyone who has a subscription 7 days, not 100, 7 days of free subscriber time, basically. So more time really than you lost during all the outages. So that was kind of cool. But I think they fixed a lot of those issues. They're still, trying to keep up with demand and build more servers into it. So I do feel like they're kind of staying responsive to what's going on. Hey, good. We've got fuel. So we've got jet fuel here at KAIA. At KUKL, what do we have? KUKL is going to have... I bet it's not going to have it. Oh, it does. Surprisingly, Coffee County does have jet fuel. Awesome. So pretty much everything has jet fuel these days. Well, that's good. Well, then I think we're good. I think this flight is valid. I don't know if we're going to, make it all the way and on just 2 stops or not, but it would be a good test to see how our planning is versus what reality is. But let's go ahead and finish off the planning for the flight. First stop is going to be to KAIA. That is definitely going to be our first go round. And I think they're still loading all this cargo. This is a lot of cargo, that's to be fair. I wonder if that's actually, I bet when you start getting into the jet planes, that loading part is going to take a little bit longer. All right, so what we'll do is anything else we need to double check. I'll tell you what, while we're sitting here, let's take a quick peek at Wonderground and get an idea of what we're getting into. So here's the different tracks, by the way. This is going to be Hurricane Sally. I guess it's already into a hurricane stage. I think it was a tropical storm. So it apparently is ready to track inward or inland here and curve up through Alabama and Georgia. So who knows? Maybe, my friends, maybe in the episode after this, there's going to be a strong need for emergency medical supplies right in the path of the storm. Let's check out a couple of our locations. So we're going to be going from KBTM first. Double check the weather at KBTM. I will be using live weather, and as far as I can tell, most of the live weather bugs seems to have been fixed. I don't really have too many issues with live weather anymore. KAIA is our first... KAIA is our next stop. I like that I can search by the airport code. Alliance Municipal. 88 degrees. Good God, it's so hot. When's fall going to show up, please? Can I get 10% more fall, please? Thank you. Okay, so there's Alliance. I already forgot what our final little hop was. It's Coffee County, which is KUKL. Just checking out all the weather. Of course, this is going to change during the flight. What we see now, of course, won't be the same as when we get there, but it gives me an idea of, I can look at the radar to see what, what's predicted, what the different weather fronts are going to be. I like that we got a measure for coronavirus here on the Weather Channel. Yeah, really pretty much clear weather all across our trip. Now, what about down once we get closer to our goal, KBVX? Same thing? Survey says. Now, this front from the hurricane doesn't look like it's gone inland too much. It looks like it's relatively, it's relatively still far to the south. A little bit. Nope, that's actually a forest. Not necessarily any weather. So, we're still really north of the hurricane. Yeah. So, perhaps tomorrow it's going to curve in through Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and kick them all again, like they haven't had enough to worry about the last couple of storms. So let me wait for that apron work to finish up, friends, and we will be ready to fly. Okay, we're loaded in, and it is a busy little parking pad here. We are... Oh no, are we trapped in here? How can I get out safely? Let me flip behind me. Where are we? What? How are we supposed to... Come on, guys. Who parked all these aircraft here? Honestly. I can't even get out of here. If I can turn on a dime... I think I can make it, but if we get pushed back, we're going to push right through this hangar. This is great. These are pretty. Look at all these different trims here. Quite a busy parking lot as well. Seems like it's a quite busy airfield today. So let's go ahead and do our startup procedures. I'll tell you what, I'm going to buzz through these real quick. Okie dokie, everything is all set. We have our clearance. Of course, I did not hit start flight tracking at the right time. One day, I don't know, I'm starting to get tired of this warning. I'm kind of starting to get annoyed at it. I like the other ones, though. I like to be, you know, I like to be held accountable for my poor flying. So like the other ones that are, you know, related to not doing barrel rolls mid-flight, stuff like that. I don't mind those tracking items, but yeah. As far as this beacon thing goes, not really a fan. Let's see if we can squeeze out of here. Oh, God. We're not going to make this angle at all. We're going to have to do the Austin Powers in the hallway turn scene. Oh, God. Okay. Can I request a pushback? Is my friend going to come all the way from where they're at over there? Yep, they're going to come chase me down so I can get pushed back. Hang on, do we have a reverse thrust on this? I've never really checked. Hang on, I think we actually do. Oh, cancel. Cancel that. We're fine. Here, I'll shift P to cancel the pushback, maybe. Are we going backwards yet? Yeah, hey, there we go. We can back up in a plane. How about that? I bet I'm about to run over. Oh, no. Run! Run, you fool! Run! Oh, God. I'm literally chasing them down. All right. We're fine. We're fine. Overheat. No big deal. Small minor detail that we're setting the plane on fire from the inside. All right. Let me go ahead and taxi over to our runway. What a, God, again, a beautiful view. If you weren't here for the end of last episode, we ended up here in Butte, Montana, which is just surrounded by mountains on all sides. Absolutely gorgeous. Somebody posted in the comments that this is actually kind of around the same area where they got their private pilot's license or certification, which is pretty cool. So what a great view you got to enjoy, huh? I've also been, I don't know why. So I've been on of course, a flying kick lately, which was spurred on, excuse me, sir, do you see the giant aircraft trying to taxi here? All right, I guess he's giving us the right of way. We'll dodge him. Please, let me get out of your way. Terribly sorry there, follow me van. What a jerk. But yeah, I've been playing a ton of flight simulators, whether it's Microsoft Flight Simulator. I've also been going back to IL-2 Sturmovok, and I had an urge. So, okay, I don't know if you guys, this probably is a pretty old school, but there was a game when I was growing up. This is the first game that I got hooked on for flight simulators, and it was Knights of the Sky. And it was a really old school World War I aircraft simulator or fighter game that was on the Atari. And you basically flew some kind of old World War I aircraft, like a Sopwith Camel, the Fokker, what is it? The Fokker Eidenkurs or something like that? I don't know how the pronunciation, but you were talking like Red Baron, stuff like that. And it was the coolest game when I was younger, and I absolutely loved it. Look how high we idle, by the way. My throttle is all the way back, and we were just idling this fast. Crazy fast plane wants to just zoom. But yeah, I've been going back. I found Rise of Flight, which is a World War I think it's the same company that made IL-2 Sturmovok. So same engine exactly, just different mechanics. Super fun, by the way. And somebody got me into DCS World. I played that for 5 minutes before crashing 7 times and calling it a night. But yeah, flight simulators are definitely on the brain. If you guys have any recommendations for flight simulators that you really, really enjoy outside of Microsoft Flight Simulator, P3D, all that stuff, please let me know in the comments. And I think this is an unmanned airport. So we're going to go ahead and announce our takeoff.
Bravo, Tango, Mike, traffic Odin 026, taking off runway 12 straight out.
And because of that fact, we will double check to make sure no one is landing right on our faces. Seems good to me. Oh, beautiful skies, mountains. Which way are we heading off to? Let me double check our... We're going to be taking off and then turning left. So kind of probably over there by the right window, out that way, is kind of where we're heading to. So we'll have a nice gentle climb, and then I'll start our turn and get everything squared away. I didn't really set, hang on real quick, before I go. I am trying to get a little bit better about my pre-flight setup, as you may or may not can tell, because I never seem to get anything right anyways. Let's change over our navigation to FMS. And we're going to change some of our settings to make sure that we're ready or our autopilot to take over. So nav mode is going to be engaged. If you're ever unsure if you've got autopilot engaged, by the way, right up above your compass bearing in this terrain window, you'll always see what's engaged. So currently we've got FMS enabled, navigation. We have nav mode. Oh, sorry, nav mode is set to the FMS. We have, in a moment here, I'll set my altitude. We're not going to have an altitude hold at the start. I normally set the type of climb we do, or I guess I set our climb speed. And this is a neat little autopilot that lets you scroll at a much faster increment than the TBM. Look, I'm not going to talk dirty about our TBM, but some other aircraft have a decent amount of tools and abilities. We'll set this climb speed really fast first, and then we'll adjust, because I'm still not quite familiar with the King Air's climb. Alrighty. I believe we're set. Going to go ahead and throw down a notch of flaps. Go ahead and bring up our RPMs to 100. Double check that we don't have any heating issues while that goes out. And I don't believe so. Our ITT is getting up a little bit. Nope, it stalled out. Or not stalled, but it topped off there. So I think we're good. You're going to get the entire experience here. The whole shebang of takeoff. What I'm going to do is, I guess... Oh, God. It's like literally steering a cruise ship. What we'll do this video is very similar to what I did last video, except I'm not going to have to bounce around too much. It's just a quick refuel, and then we're back up in the air again. So it should be a little bit easier this time around to get these cuts. It's also hopefully not going to take me like 4 to 5 hours of recording time. God, what a view. I can only imagine literally having this as my view. I'm also really looking forward to when VR support comes out for Flight Simulator. I may get sick, I might throw up, but you know, at the end of the day, it's going to be worth it for views like this. Also, now taking donations for the Steam VR headset.
Airborne time logged.
Nice and smooth. A little bit of a hill ahead. Of course, those mountains in the distance are pretty far out there, so we should be able to deal with that just fine. Retracting the flaps, trimming for takeoff. I'm going to bring our throttle back just a notch because I can see a little flashing ITT over there in the bottom right. There we go. Let me take a quick peek at how this terrain to our left looks. Yeah, we should be able to hit this hill in front of us. It's wrong phrasing. We should be able to go over that with no problems. And then we'll be clear to continue our turn to the left. I can't quite see out the window. I'd be able to move around the aircraft, so I'm going to use this external view to get a feel for that. Yeah, there's actually a little valley there if we take it a harder turn. But I think our climb is already pretty solid. What a view. Beautiful day today in Montana. The only sights I've seen in Montana are going through on the Amtrak. There are 3 lines that stretch across the United States for Amtrak. If you're ever so interested, I would highly recommend a cross-country train trip as an alternate style of vacation. Super fun. You can get yourself, save up a little money, get yourself a sleeper cabin. And you and one close family member or friend can spend an incredibly close amount of time together. If you get the little sleeper cabins, they are rather tight. You will become very intimate with the person that you are in the room with. There's also, on the shorter trips, I took a trip between Chicago and DC, and in your little room, there's actually one of the seats, or I guess one of the steps that you would step up is a toilet. I guess kind of similar to the toilet that you would find in the back of the King Air. I've watched a lot of videos for the King Air, by the way, and apparently in the very back here, that little section that we've seen before is actually a bathroom door that you can slide shut. So there we go. I've found the aircraft for me. It's going to be the King Air because I have to absolutely have a bathroom on my plane. All right, autopilot is engaged. We've got our yaw dampener on. FMS navigation is locked in. We are climbing relatively slow, so I'm going to go ahead and increase the climb speed. Or I guess decrease the climb speed. Make climb go faster, please. Thank you. There we go. 165 seems good. We're climbing at around 27, is that 3,000? 3,000 feet per minute? Yeah, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Let's see, anything else that we need to change real quick? ITT is fine, and torque is fine, and everything else looks good. So I guess it's going to be a pretty steady climb for us. Real fast, while I still got you here, and I just was talking about it. Let me go back to this, this is very important stuff, guys. Wrong button. Oh. I hit the wrong key. There we go. Let's do a little virtual tour here of the, oh, damn it. Stupid landing lights. Yeah, but this little door here is apparently you can close it. And you can have, there's a little toilet right there. And also in the back, right here in the back, there's like netting that you can install for cargo and stuff like that. I watched somebody's like in-flight tour. Yeah, I looked for pilot jobs. Apparently no one wants to hire someone who has no flight experience. I don't understand why though. Just train me. It's just, you know, super easy, right? Also real quick, because I just literally mentioned it and I really want to show you, if you aren't familiar with how this works, I want to show you the glory of the Amtrak sleeper. So this is actually the bedroom one, the deluxe bedroom. You get your own private bathroom. There we go. Here is the roomette. This is what I'm talking about. This is you. This is your friend. These are your knees all nobbled together. It is a tight fit. This must be a Chicago run. This is the step I was talking about that turns in. This is a toilet underneath it. So yeah, you better like your friend or send them out to get some snacks while you do your business. And for today's in-flight entertainment, I have Hearts of Iron 4 by Paradox Interactive. Look, this is the only video where you're going to get some meta gameplay. I should literally dedicate one video to like half flying and then half a Paradox game, whether it's Crusader Kings or Hearts of Iron. Look, I'm really focused on air war. I've already researched. We've already are researching the B-17. I'm going to go very hard into long bomber runs here. Strategic bombing. So as we pass through about 20,000 feet and continue our climb up to 310, take a look at that beautiful scenery here in Montana. What a wonderful place to fly out of. A couple of folks have suggested heading over to different parts of the world, and you know what? I think that'd be kind of a fun thing to do. Along with all the other items that I was hoping to accomplish with On-Air Company Manager, why not try to find some international flights? And then once we get across the, the water, why don't we start doing some hometowns? So why don't you guys post what would you like to see a video of? What's a great site in your opinion, or a great place to go for a bit of an aircraft and aerial visit? We'll do a couple of cargo runs. We don't really even have to do cargo per se, but I do like to make a little bit of money, even if we are flying around, spending some fuel. Why not make a buck around the way? But hey, if you got a suggested trip, maybe between, Iceland and the UK, or over in Amsterdam or something, or someone suggested up in Norway, what a great place to go. Happy to visit those areas on our journey over for our Asia mission, so it could be kind of something fun to take a look at. Alrighty, so I think we're hitting our cruising altitude of about 33,000 feet as we kind of taper off here. Got a little warning about cabin pressure difference. I think that's going to be fine. It's just a slow bleed to equalize the pressure. There are some settings here, but I'm not entirely sure which ones we want to really change. I haven't messed with any of the settings on the central bar here at all. Of course, our central console for, I believe this is all for your screens here. These are not operational. Also, we were given an order to fly to 350, and I guess that is our max ceiling. I wonder if we go even faster up higher. We're going 321, although we are leveling out, so our airspeed is going to continue to increase. But we'll go ahead and climb up to 350 as instructed, and see what our overall performance is like. So let me set this real quick. FLC, go up, go up. There we go. Oh god. I don't want the, gotta be a little careful. Sometimes the autopilot, when you're doing FLC, gets a little bit crazy. So do be really careful before you enable your FLC, that it's not set at something like 0, because your plane will try to climb at 0 knots. Which basically means it's going to stall the heck out. Alright, so we're already at 35,000 pretty much. So let's take a look at some of our stats. We've got a fuel flow of 62. So I want to bring this down to about 55. We're going to come down a notch or two on the fuel. And I'm also going to come back a little bit on the RPMs to pull those out of near the red zone. So we'll come back about 80%. And I also really don't know too much about the balancing of fuel. If we notice, we're going about 57 for our fuel flow as we start to level off and speed up. This will get I assume it might change a little bit more. 57 right now. So if we pull back our fuel to like, I don't know, 80? It does actually pull back our overall fuel usage quite a bit. So we're down to 54 now with those settings. So 54 gallons per hour. We are getting a warning here about used oxygening. I think 35 is pretty much the maximum we can go to. I really don't see any other ways to mess around with this. Again, I don't really know this console too much, so I don't want to touch it for fear that I might break something. Also, do we have any icing problems? I really haven't seen anything on the windshield or on the engines or wing. No icing there. Just clear skies ahead. We are going 347 knots ground speed. And unfortunately, again, I can't quite see any windage. Unless you guys have come across any wind settings. So we're down at about 54 gallons per hour, and we have what is this? About 550 pounds of fuel in each tank, which I don't really know what the conversion is for that. Our prop speed is in the green. Our heat, of course, we are very cold because it is a negative 22 degrees outside Fahrenheit. From here, I think it's just going to be a normal light cruise, my friends. I'll let you know if anything interesting happens, but we'll continuing on for a bit. Hey, by the way, if you were wondering, our fuel level is about 1,100 pounds right now, which is actually 132 gallons. I did the math. Not really. I did the Google. And so we've got about 3 hours of flight time. So according to our navigation, our current flight is going to be 2 hours till we get to the next refuel point. So plenty of fuel still left over. If we really wanted to, depending on how close we are to the target airport, we might look at something different. Like we might push our landing a little bit farther. That way we can try to make... I mean, I guess there's really no way we're going to make this on just one stop, is it? It's like watching Formula One. Are we gonna go for Plan A or Plan B? Can we make this a one-stopper? I have no idea. If we've got about... Let's see, we're going... It's like train A leaves Boston, heading 300 miles per hour going southwest. We've got 2 hours until our airport. We have 3 hours, roughly, of flight time. Ish. Yeah, we kind of have 2.5 hours. I could stretch this one more stop, but I don't know if there's really a reason to. No matter what we do, I'm fairly sure we're still going to have one more stop. Unless I stretch this to the absolute maximum, there's a chance we could just do this on one stop for fuel. But I'm not entirely sure I could do that. Now, if we really mess around with our fuel flow, I wonder what the most efficient burn is. Like, could we get... I mean, if we cut our fuel, we're going to go slower, right? So I don't know if a certain percentage is what we're looking for here. Let's say we cut back to 70% fuel mixture. That's going to bring us down to about, what? 55 from 55? Okay, so we're not really getting any change in our overall fuel flow if we make the engine mixture more lean. I guess that did bring it down from 56 to 55, but at the end of the day, I don't really know what that's going to do for us. Now, we were going, what, 332? 344 right now. I guess we're pretty close to where we were, so that really didn't change the estimated time of arrival, nor our ground speed. So, no idea, friends. Perhaps there is a guide to the King Air 350 burn rate, or optimum cruise setting. There we go. Let's look at optimum cruise settings. So interesting. I was actually looking up some data on the cruise, and I'm really confused. I've messed with some of the settings, and it actually recommends going at about 1800 prop RPM. But strangely, once I'm actually up here, it doesn't seem like I can do anything with the prop RPM. No matter what I choose here, it's not really changing anything for it, unless this is not the propeller. I would assume this is the propeller RPM right here. But this actually looks like it's based on throttle, which is a little bit strange. I mean, I guess I could, if we have this at, what, 100%, and then we kind of pull it back, the throttle itself, to 1800, that might be ideal, perhaps. Although there's a different measurement for torque. Oh, you know what? Is this the prop torque? Is this the wrong measurement, maybe? That might be the case. It says 2230. Nope, that's going to be over stressing on RPMs, I would assume. Who knows? But yeah, in this little random sheet I found, some sketchy sheet on the internet, it says 1800. So I'm curious, can we go down to 1800? Just what would it do? What would it do if we go down to 1800? So roughly 1800 RPM. Here we are. Our fuel consumption is now down to 43 gallons per hour ish, as I try to trim the airspeed up just a bit. Okay, right about there roughly. So what does this do for our overall speed and performance? So we're down from 340 to 337. Our estimated time is 142, which I think might have been a little bit slower, but we're now using 10 gallons less of fuel per hour. So I think this is actually much better, right? 1800, 44 fuel flow. We're sitting at about 800 pounds or so of fuel. So real quick, Google save me. We're at 800 pounds of fuel, which is 96 gallons. So 44 and 44, this is about 2 hours worth of fuel. And we still have an hour and 43. So it kind of seems like this is a worse setting for us as opposed to keeping it in the green. Maybe this is for an older aircraft. Again, it's just really kind of testing some stuff out, trying to figure out what the optimal settings are. So about 2050 or so. What does this do for our arrival and our speed? Doesn't really change it a whole lot. Although I assume we have to wait for a few minutes for us to speed up and kind of get everything squared away. All right, now we're down to an hour and 38. And we're up to 58 on the fuel flow. So yeah, maybe if we started this flight and maintained the props at around 1800 on cruise, we would have a much better fuel efficiency. Well, hey, that's something to test out. We can see from our tracker, on-air company manager, at the end of the flight, we should be able to see how long the flight took. So you have 126 gallons on board right now, and a fuel burn of 55. So yeah, we're looking fine for the remainder of the trip. I really do feel like we're not losing too much time by cutting all the way back to 1800. We're saving 10 gallons of fuel, 20 gallons of fuel, because we're doing 10 from each tank. Well, I guess each engine. So we're cutting back on 10 gallons per hour on each tank. We find that 1850 again, or 1800 or so. I wish my throttle had like a really easy to see notch indicating where it was at, or maybe it clicked into different places so I could actually like highlight on my joystick certain cruises and stuff. Okay, we'll try this out. We'll try holding 1800 RPM. We're down to 44 on the fuel flow, and really the estimated time did not change much. So maybe this is the best. Okay, we'll give it a shot. Thanks for Google. Tell you what. Okay, so interesting. So I just noticed that my waypoint stuff I think is out of whack, and I should have double checked this. I haven't really done a lot of multi-leg trips. Also, hello friend off to my left somewhere, off in the distance. I don't see any lights yet, but I might soon. But yeah, the waypoint that we're currently headed towards is not the next one in line. We're actually, according to our screen here, we're heading towards KUKL, as opposed to the other one, which was KAIA. Well, hang on a minute. Why does it say... It says KUKL. What is going on? Why does this not have... This should be activate leg to the waypoint. KBTM, KUKL. What is happening here? My waypoints are all screwed up. I think we're really, really close now. We're 1 hour and 22 minutes away from KUKL. We're 433 nautical miles. We're sitting at about, 300 pounds of fuel. I don't think we're going to make the next airport, but I don't know if we're going to be able to get down to KAIA at this point either. So, how do we check? Now, this is kind of awkward. I can't quite get out of the screen. I think I can play it on audio. Nope, doesn't let me do anything. There we go. So, oh, that is so awkward. How did I break this? Yeah, I don't understand this part. Let's insert before. Cancel. It literally looks like it's active to the KAIA waypoint. But according to my nav stuff, it's taking us to KUKL. So I'll tell you what. I'm going to remove everything. We're going to actually set our destination as KAIA. And see if that changed. Whoa, that adjusted some stuff. Where are we at here? Okay, we're just taking a little turn to the right, I think, to catch up with the track. No, we are completely reversing. Hang on. Really quick, let me get back to my main screen. Let's smack the heading knob and hold heading. And we're going to go back to the reciprocal of whatever, for whatever reason. Wow, this is all sorts of backwards. What is going on with our navigation right now? Okay, let's hold the reciprocal of what we're currently aimed at. Yeah. That's that. That'll keep us back on our current line, or roughly our line. What is the deal with my nav here? So we are 300 pounds of fuel with a fuel burn of 44 gallons per hour. By the way, I was doing my math earlier and not counting both tanks. This is basically 88 gallons per hour, so I'll only do the calculations off one tank. So we're down to 300, which is 36. We've got about pretty close to where we need to start worrying about half an hour of fuel. So we really probably should start getting down to KAIA. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's reduce our speed. And we're going to set our altitude down to 10,000 or so feet just for the moment. And I'll start our descent at about 3,000 feet per second. Per second. 3,000 feet per minute. That will take about 11 minutes or so to go down. That's the airport way out in front of us, actually. Right there, and I'm pretty sure we're way too close. Even for me, even with my crazy diving, my dive bombing techniques here, I don't think we're going to hit this airport. Can I see it in the third-person view? I think that might be it way out there. That's still pretty far away. I'm uncomfortable with that type of descent. Let's see if we can't clean up our navigation, and we'll still try to land at KAIA. Since everything is kind of going weird, we'll stick with what we were planning. How's our descent speed, by the way? We're descending at a rate of 210 knots. That's okay. So real quick, let me try to fix this. Let's remove some waypoints, remove some waypoints. We're going to start to get fussed at now by the flight controller. I really don't think I can change anything either. It's just gonna fuss at me forever. Request IFR clearance. I thought we already got our IFR clearance, to be honest. So, is this now correct? Now it says KAIA. Okay, so we're now at the right target here. Do we have any procedures for approach? We do have ILS runway 30. Let's take a quick peek at KAIA. We should be able to get some information through here. It's got KBVX. We're going to have to go to airport database, KAIA. And I'm looking for some radio frequencies here. So we do have ILS and runway 30. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's set our procedures for arrival on ILS 30. Let's go ahead and load that now. And we're going to change back over to that type of navigation. So I think our nav stuff is all set. Yes, it's about 20 or so, 10, 15 degrees to the right, which is correct. What is their information? Let's go to airport data. Pulling this off of from Google for all things here. So we're looking for radio frequencies. You'd think they'd have this right at the top, right? Zip code, elevation, activation, CTAP 123.0. Let's go to 123.0. We're still descending fine. So COM 1 we're going to set to... I really don't like the nav suite on here whatsoever. Obviously having a ton of issues with that. Hey, how do I actually set? I don't particularly think I know. There it goes. We're going to 123.0. Was that it? Let me double check that real quick. 123.0. Yes. Let me go ahead and press enter and see what that gives us. Switch, go over to the new one. Is that ATIS information or no? 123.0. It still says Tune Denver Center. I think I supremely worked this somehow. My at least my radio stuff. Either way, we're coming into the ILS for runway 30. Let's go ahead and cancel our IFR because it's all sorts of screwed up. There's a plane off to my right. And I'm looking for our friend here to make sure I don't, you know, do a little bit of air tag. Yeah, it seems like when you do the IFR stuff from planning, it gets a little bit funky. So maybe I just won't do that through Microsoft Flight Simulator. Maybe that's one of the bugs that people were basically referencing having problems with. There's our nearest airport list. Okay, now I guess let's try for KAIA again. And there it goes. Okay, let's go ahead and get the automated weather information. We are starting to turn... Oh, God, we are on top of whoever this was. Did I catch what runway they were actually taking off and landing at? I guess it doesn't matter at the end of the day because this is an unmanned airport. So, we are going to select runway 30 for landing since we are on ILS approach to that. And that's going to make life a little bit easier for me, especially when it comes to navigating in and lining up to the runway. I always love to use the GPS nav to set us up on the runway heading. So, no problem. Let's go ahead and announce full stop landing. We are a couple miles away. 12 miles? Hey, 13 miles. I guessed that. Top notch, my friends. We are coming up on 12,000 feet, so let's go ahead and set our altitude going right through that layer. Down to about, what's the elevation here? Elevation's at 3,900, so yeah, we'll go ahead and set our elevation down to about 5,000 or 6,000 or so. Vertical speed, that kind of caught for a second because we did go through the assigned layer for the autopilot to manage it. Hello? What is your deal? Altitude hold. Man, I am having all sorts of fun today with all the systems. I missed my TBM, guys. The TBM didn't give me a headache. This, headache. Vertical speed, negative. There we go. Good night. All right, guess what? I finally remembered as well that we're passing through this layer. I never did turn them off, did I? Great. Great. I need to get on the ground. I need a drink. I need a nice stiff drink before we get back in the cockpit and go flying again. Real quick, what is the ILS information here? We have 108.35, so I can do that relatively easily, he says, before everything breaks. Nav radio, where do we go for the nav info? Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't particularly know where we set the nav settings here. We've got standby. This is for your COM 1 standby. But where do we set the nav standby? Can I look down and just press some buttons here? None of these work, right? None of the number panels, none of this stuff at all works at all. Can I set this in my escape menu somehow? Also, what the hell did I just switch? I just hit something and I don't entirely know. Great, nice. I set my landing gear down. Let's go ahead and press autopilot off, and we're going to go ahead and take over because the airport is a little bit misaligned on the map, according to this. So we will have to do the rest of this flight in. Look, there's never a dull moment, right? Never a dull moment here at Odin Airlines, truly. I guess the GPS stuff didn't put us on direct lineup for runway 30. But that's okay. Hey, guess what? Why break the cycle now, coming in too high? Always diving down into our airports. It also doesn't help that I'll do a recording for this right after I've played IL-2 Sturmovok. So I you know, when I come to land in, when I'm playing IL-2, it's basically like a, you know, straight dive down, full flaps, and then just, you know, park it. So that type of habit is not great to combo with a normal flight simulator behavior.
220 at 2 knots.
What a mess this flight was.
Kilo Alpha India Alpha traffic Odin 026 is on final runway 30 to land.
Yeah, see, getting the nav would have been really useful there because we would have intercepted the localizer. And I assume what happened was the GPS isn't exactly as precise as the localizer, right? The localizer, isn't the localizer literally a device that's right next to the runway? Or maybe right in front of, like right in front of the dash marks, the hash marks there. I bet that's where the localizer actually is.
Landing time logged.
There we go. Much better than normal.
Landed at Kilo Alpha India Alpha.
Kilo Alpha
Alliance
India
Mun.
Alpha. Alliance Mun. Hi, Alliance Mun. Sorry, we almost passed you by. We landed with about 200 pounds of fuel. Still plenty of fuel left. We probably could have stretched that, but with the fact that I already had screwed up with my waypoint information, I really didn't want to push it. So better safe than sorry. So I'll go ahead and go off the runway, and we're going to taxi over to fuel. I will refuel the aircraft, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so end of flight has been registered. Let's go ahead and pop over to On-Air Company Manager. Got, of course, a gear overspeed there at the end. So as per normal, my reputation is diving down into the ground. What's the show flight record? This is kind of cool. Oh, this is neat. I like that it tracks this information here. This is super cool, actually. It tracks exactly what our speed was, which path we took, if I did any weird stuff. Look, see, you've got proof that I didn't do anything horribly wrong, except for get a little bit screwed up there, and then, you know, inevitably. This is cool. It shows you where you got your warnings at. That's really neat, actually. This is my my lights, probably. Yep, landing lights on above flight level 120. This is pretty neat. I didn't actually realize that this flight record was here. Can we look at that after we're done with the flight 100%? Can we go and look at, oh gosh, how would we look at this? Maybe my company flight logs. Yeah, that's actually really cool. What was my first flight? Oh, this is really neat, actually. We have a ton of information here. How bad was my first flight? No data for this flight. Sad day. Did it break, or did the server just, like, go kaplooey? Maybe it only holds a certain amount of history. No data for this flight. I mean, that's fair. No data for this flight. There's no flights here. So it did track one of my previous flights. This was our flight from Ontario over to where we are now. This is really cool. I like this, especially if you're trying to figure out what you're doing wrong, maybe, with your flying. This was our flight from Utah up to Ontario. What did I have happen here? Oh, this was that stupid... Yeah, this is where the elevation changed, or the weather changed on one of my flights. Anyway, sorry. I'm distracted by shiny things. Let's go ahead and get our aircraft into the flight, or into the next flight. God, I'm already at an hour. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my next flight, and you're going to watch the entire flight sped up to like 850%, so that I can get both of my flights in here. We'll be doing our flight. I will show you the setup information. Again, we are trying to take this large cargo down to KBVX. I don't know if we're going to make it in this flight. It is 600 nautical miles away. Our fuel load will only allow us to get about 540 nautical miles worth of fuel, but we have found a pretty decent burn rate. So I might stretch it. I'll tell you what. What if we roleplay wise? What if we say that this is an urgent delivery for the, you know, people who are going to be affected by the hurricane? Therefore, the FAA has allowed us to stretch some normal flight regulations. So we're going to possibly go a bit tight with fuel at the end of this flight. We'll see. But I'm going to go ahead and have the crew confirm and start loading up the fuel now. Our cargo is still on board. I am already there in the game. And as you can see, somebody was in my way at the stupid refueling point. All right, friends, I'm going to go ahead and set up our flight, and I'll be back with you. We're going really, really fast. All right, friends, welcome to our landing here at KBVX. It's a beautiful sunset, and we are almost out of fuel, as the case is. But I'm trying to work on... God, it's really not doing this right. It's not picking up the localizer as smooth as it has in, well, maybe it will this time around. It is leaving it out. Okay, so we're on the localizer. Let's hit approach. We're going to turn our approach mode on. I'm going to hit VNav. And I don't have, okay, I lost, are we on nav 2? Hi. Why aren't we displaying the right info here? We're on localizer 1. It doesn't give me any information about the glide scope. All right, we'll go ahead and turn that off. Unfortunately, I was trying to work on getting the autopilot. I'm still trying to practice, basically, with using the localizer, because I assume at some point I'm going to have an issue where we have bad weather, and I'm actually going to need to know how to do this. We're also super critical on fuel. So this is it. I have to land. We're, again, of course, way too high, as is the usual with pretty much all of my flights. I was really banking on trying to get this autopilot to engage. Look at how low we are. We have nothing left in the auxiliary tanks either. So, you know, this is getting pretty normal. I'm unsure. Basically, I had my navigation set to pick up a normal GPS approach. And as the needle started to move, I switched over to from the FMS navigation to the localizer hold. And I saw the localizer needle moving, but for whatever reason, the autopilot did not pick up the localizer. It kind of flew me parallel to the runway for a bit, and I had to do some weird stuff. So again, my attempts at figuring out how to use the ILS approach tools in the aircraft has been thwarted. The reason I want to do this so bad is at some point we're going to have an awful flight. Why is that tree so freaking close to the end of the runway? Who put that tree there? That's awful. It's not like an achievement. You're not supposed to just put stuff there that we might run into. Come on, guys. But yeah, the reason I want to practice this stuff is that eventually we're going to run into a situation where we have awful weather, and we're going to need to use the ILS all the way in. I'm sure at some point, whether it's with our King Air or whether it's with a Boeing or something like that, we're going to need to know how to do this. So I'm trying to get used to using these tools now before, you know, desperately going crazy during an actual flight. So that's the reason I'm trying to use ILS so much on a sunny day. I want to know the tools. I want to know how to actually engage the autopilot. Although I've heard from some people that some of the autopilot options are a little bit screwed up right now, and we may not be able to get exactly what we're looking for. So whether Microsoft, or I guess it's, what's the company called? Asobo? Asobo, I think, are the developers. They might be working on this stuff, but again, if you guys are super familiar with how to use this equipment in the King Air, for example. Now, the Dare TBM 930 didn't seem to have any issues. Like, I would approach, I would change my system here from using FMS data. My CDI source would instead be from FMS over to localizer. It would pick it up, and when you hit the approach button, I think I had to turn on like Flight Director and VNav, and it would completely automatically bring me right into the runway. So maybe the King Air navigation suite isn't finished. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, but again, just trying to get the stuff all settled for the inevitable flight into Doom. But hey guys, that's it. We've made it down here to, where are we? Batesville Regional on one stop. Granted, it wasn't a very safe flight. We are landing with about just shy of 100 pounds in each tank, which is more than likely not 30 minutes of flight time. But I guess we'll find out here as we land. All right, let's take a quick peek at the survey. How did our flight do? First up, turn all the stuff off so On-Air Manager doesn't yell at me even more than it already has today. And survey says we have a .-02. That's not bad. So a 48% reputation for the long flight, and I did not land with 30 minutes of fuel reserve. So I tried to stretch it out, and I'm sure the fact that I missed my runway didn't help things out, but yeah, it is what it is. Again, really weird. Engine on, engine off. 5 minutes. What is this? Why is it like this? Why are you like this? Take a quick peek at our flight record. What was this one? Landing lights off. Huh. This was just an acknowledgement, I think, of that I did something good for once, maybe? Flap set to 0%. That was after takeoff. And we had a pretty calm, smooth flight from Nebraska over Kansas, across a little bit of Missouri. And here's where you can see where everything, where everything went super funky. Look at that. Look at that beautiful approach. that is why we kind of had a little bit of a fuel problem. So right around here, I adjusted my approach, and then right around here, I tried to enable the localizer, and it instead went like that. So I have no idea what's going on with it, but hey, we had fun. So we're a little bit closer to Louisiana. I hope to tomorrow get into a flight where we're actually able to find some goods that we need to take down to Louisiana. Maybe we can see how bad the weather is, but you know what, my friends? If the Red Cross calls on us, we are going to answer the call and deliver those critical goods and items, medical items, to people in need down here in New Orleans and Pensacola, Gulfport, wherever it needs to go. Odin Airlines is ready to help. Hey, we're sitting on $1.1 million in cash. Wow. We're loaded. I should probably fire all my employees at some point. They're not doing anything for me anymore. We still do have our other aircraft, by the way, the DO-228 sitting at KPVD. And I might find a flight for them and send them over across the Atlantic on a flight over to Europe or something like that. But hey, friends, thanks for joining me for this rather long flight as always. Until next time, take care.